coming up on the Lead Ministry Podcast.
Listen, if you don't have a strategy and a system by which you're going to keep the good ones that God has given you, you are going to be on the hamster wheel of plugging holes and manically recruiting people. Your hair's going to be on fire, and generally speaking, nobody in your church is going to want to be around you.
Now your host, Josh Denhart.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lead Ministry Podcast. We are so excited. Today's a special day. We are launching a brand new thing, and you're actually the first to know about it. Well, my name is Josh Denhart. I am grateful that you good folks are here. And I've been at this for a while. We've been creating content about ministry and about how to help you lead in such a way that doesn't burn you out, doesn't cause your spouse to resent the ministry. And we're coming out with a brand new thing, and this episode is going to be dedicated to really kind of a coming together of a lot of resources and a lot of time and years of work. It's all going to come together, and we're going to announce a great thing today. Well, Bill, it's great to see you, buddy.
Yeah, it's great to see you too. Yeah, I'm so excited for the announcement. I'm pumped for this next season of Lead Ministry. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and you've been a huge part of it. You have been, not only a part of the podcast, but there's a lot of good things that are coming down the pipe with this. So we're grateful. It's a big announcement day, and we're going to jump right in. All right, gang. Well, here's the deal. Today is a new and big announcement. Now, if you've been with us for any length of time, we like to define it, we like to develop it, and we like to do it. So we're going to define this thing. What is this new thing that we're doing? How have we done it in the past? How we're going to do it future forward? Then we're going to kind of dive deep into that, and then we're going to give you an opportunity for some type of action. So that's kind of how we do it on the podcast, as you're aware. Well, what is this new and big announcement? Well, let's start with how we've done it in the past. Now, Bill, what we've done is we had a podcast, and people are listening to this podcast right now, whether it's through Spotify or whether it's on YouTube. This is a podcast that we have. It's the Lead Ministry Podcast. Up to this point, it has been just random topics. Now, people have been blessed by it, and they've loved it. Now, in addition to the podcast, we have the Lead Ministry newsletter. And the newsletter goes out. It kind of tells my travel schedule. It kind of gives a push and a burst about the podcast. It has some free videos, right, that kind of are just cherry picked from the Lead Ministry courses. That's great. Now, I have to say this next one, monthly webinars in our current model. We have had monthly webinars, but to say that they've been monthly, well, a year ago they were monthly. And so it's been a little bit hit and miss, right? But we've had some webinars. And then, of course, we have 12 courses, full-length courses with tons and tons of downloads. And that's kind of the meat of what we do. So, Bill, this has been our historical model, a little bit more of a potpourri of resources. So give me your take as far as what we've done up to this point before we reveal what we're going to do next.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved it. I think it's been really helpful for the stage that, we kind of were in, you were kind of in. And even just thinking about like your travel schedule, the amount of things that you're putting out for people is amazing. But I think what I'm excited for as we kind of turn the corner is an idea of strategy behind how we're getting people the tools they need in order to be successful in ministry.
Yeah. So instead of a whole bunch of content that all kind of fits, we're now putting all of these pieces together in a cohesive, intelligent system, really. And so our new monthly content emphasis. So in other words, Bill, we're going to have an entire month laser focused on one ministry concept. So here we are in the month of August. We're getting ready to launch this thing in the month of September. And so September is going to be 100% about how you can retain volunteers and stop volunteers from falling through the cracks and deciding not to serve with you any longer. So retention is huge. Now, that's always been a focus, but now we're going to make it a laser focus. And so each month, we're going to have a singular, relevant content focus. And so whether it's going to be retaining volunteers, or another month is going to be training volunteers. Another month is going to be, how do you go about leading effective meetings with volunteers? Okay, great. So rather than having the newsletter talk about meetings and the podcast talk about ministry conflict and the coursework is talking about retention, we're changing that. And every month, everything that we do is going to be laser focused to one piece or one intelligent facet of your ministry year. And so moving forward, each month, let's take September, for instance. The podcast is going to be 5 weeks because September is a 5. Is it 5? Is that 5 or is it 4 or 5
I don't
this
know.
year? Okay. Well, let's just go with 4. It's going to be 4 episodes exclusively about volunteer retention. The newsletter is a free resource that we provide, and it's going to have some free videos that are strategically cherry-picked from the retention course. And so we're sending out we're doing 4 podcasts. We're sending out a newsletter each week with some helpful guidance about retaining volunteers. We're also going to have this special brand new e-resource every month. This particular month, it's going to be an ebook about how you can use the 4 love languages in order to retain volunteers. And so that's a free resource for everybody, but it's about retention. And then we're going to have a dedicated monthly webinar that is, you guessed it, in the month of September about retaining volunteers. Finally, we're going to really push those who are a part of this membership to jump deep into the retention course. So 1 month, 1 key focus, and all of our efforts are going to be resourcing people around this one topic. Bill, what's your thoughts on this, buddy?
I love it. And I mean, as you were going through it, I was thinking the word jumping out to me is just focus. Focus. And it's, we see this in just ministry life in general. There, like we've talked about this so many times, but I use a timer on my desk to focus. Okay. I set it for 30 minutes and I set for one task to focus for 30 minutes, and I'm able to do a lot more efficiently because my brain is all focused on that one thing. I think this is the same concept as we go through these different emphasis each month. In the month of September, we are going to be saturating everyone with this idea of retain. And what that does is allowed you to get a lot further in that area of ministry than you would is if you just had a one-off every few months. That's
exactly right. So I like what you said. It's going to be a content saturation. And you know what? We do need to make sure that we retain our volunteers, but guess what? That's not the only thing. And so then we're going to go heavy duty saturation, and then we're going to move to the next month, which is, hey, guess what? Now that you've retained them, you had better learn how to train them. So we're going to spend an entire month through the podcast, all episodes of the podcast. The newsletter is going to be focused on training volunteers. The e-resource that we're going to put out, all about training. The webinar is going to be laser focused on training volunteers, and we're going to push people toward the course to train. And so it's, again, a saturation of content around one relevant, singular ministry, kind of like an important piece to your ministry puzzle each and every month. And so there are 12 months. There's going to be 12 ministry focus points that we saturate you with. And so we're excited about that. Okay. Now, Bill, let's talk about this year at a glance. We're calling it the Lead Ministry Scope and Sequence. And so there is a logic behind the pattern of each month. So in other words, November isn't just that we randomly chose it. November is in a stream of consciousness about different content. So here it is, the Lead Ministry Scope and Sequence. By the way, I would encourage anyone who is listening to this, feel free to continue to listen, but I would encourage you to hit the podcast on YouTube so that you can actually watch some of this come to life. Okay, so the membership is going to look like this. Month number 1, September is when we're launching this, is going to be all about retaining volunteers. Listen, if you don't have a strategy and a system by which you're going to keep the good ones that God has given you, You are going to be on the hamster wheel of plugging holes and manically recruiting people. Your hair's going to be on fire. And generally speaking, nobody in your church is going to want to be around you.
Right. There's a reason why this is like the keystone when you jump into the lead ministry courses. It's because retain is so huge, and you're like basically closing and locking the back door of your ministry so that your volunteers stay with you, and it makes things a lot easier.
That's right. And so the entire month of September is going to be focused around retention. Next, once you've retained them, you need to start to train them. And so then this is an entire month dedicated, the month of October, dedicated to training your volunteers. How do you go about doing that? What would I say to them? How frequently would we meet? Who should I be looking for? What are the characteristics of those people that I'm looking for? So that is the month of October about training. Again, the podcast, ministry extras, a resource, a free guide that we're going to give you, the newsletter, plus all of the coursework is going to be dedicated toward training. Next, once you have gotten through, okay, we got some systems to retain, we're figuring out who we're going to train. Well, how do I go about training them? This is when the month of November is going to be dedicated toward lead meetings. How do you effectively lead meetings? What's your cadence? What's your rhythm with leading meetings? What's your pattern? What is the ministry agenda? What's the flow of traffic? How often should I meet with this set of volunteers, and how often should I meet with this really super core set of volunteers? And so you've retained them, you're keeping them. You now have an idea of who you're going to dive deep with and train. And now it's going to be, how are you going to go about doing that lead meetings? The next month is lead interns. Now, this is in the month of December. Now, Bill, you and I made a change not very long ago, and we decided to make lead interns a December thing. There's several reasons. Number one, lead interns is a very, very, very fast course. If you're a part of the lead ministry membership, lead interns, you can move through that course rather rapidly. Well, we know that the month of December is intense. However, what I also know is a lot of the young adults or the college students that would be wonderful to tap on the shoulder and to get them to be a part of an internship program, maybe a 12-week internship program this coming summer in 2026. You need to have all of your ducks in a row during the month of December so that when January hits, now you are effectively inviting, you have a resource ready to answer questions. And so the month of December is lead interns. And I have to tell you, people who have dialed in this lead interns piece, they are making massive headway with their ministry. Now, I had plenty of interns over the years. That's in a sense the model that I used. So interns in the month of December, we're going to be prepping everything so that you could invite a team of people. Well, in the month of January now, 2026, we're going to be working exclusively on how to lead productively. Makes sense, doesn't it? Here it is, a brand new year, brand new you. Let's develop some muscles and some strategies for you to have your most productive year ever. Bill, what are your thoughts on this, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, that's already what you're thinking in January already, is how do I get my life together, right? And so this is an opportunity to get your ministry together and to, set 2026 up for your best year ever.
Absolutely. A lot of great strategies. And again, it's going to be the podcast, it's going to be free stuff, the newsletter, coursework, and a podcast or a webinar. Well, next in the month of February, we're going to talk exclusively about outreach, how you can actually start thinking about how to reach people in your community, how to go about thinking about rightly about God's job as it relates to reaching other people, and what's your job as it relates to reaching people. It's an extremely effective course. It's an extremely effective topic. I can't wait for this particular month. Now, hear me out. We're going to get our ducks in a row in terms of productivity in January. Now we're going to be like, okay, let's start strategically thinking about how to reach people in the month of February. Now, the month of March then is going to be a dedicated emphasis on events and event management. Now, reaching people doesn't necessarily have to be event driven. You don't have to be an event driven church, but they're an effective way in American Christian subculture to reach people. But if you are seeking with, you got your heart aligned, right? Okay, let's go back to January. You have the gear systems in place. You now know how to be productive on a daily and a weekly and a monthly basis. So you've got the gear system. Now you're working on your heart in February about really seeking to reach people. And now you're going to put together a plan or a strategy to potentially begin to invite people to your church, or you're going to go outside of your church and begin to thinking about reaching people. Well, Bill, events are great, but the last thing you want to do is to look like a fool or a chicken with your head cut off when you are getting ready to execute an event and you don't have your yes face, you are wearing your stress face.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've seen events fall apart. It's not fun. Not fun for you, not fun for the people attending. It doesn't represent your church well. So the time to do it really is before you even start the planning, is to really understand events. Understand events.
And so this is the philosophy. So in the month of February, you're talking about the philosophy of reaching people. In March is the philosophy of having a cohesive event that brings people, or maybe it's a cohesive event that you're reaching out and leaving your church and breaking out of the walls of your church. Well, listen to this. In the month of April, then, we're going to talk exclusively about digital ministry, how to lead digitally. Now, the reason we put this after lead events, because it's not always a part of this, but a big part of having an effective outreach event is to understand how to digitally communicate to your community around you that you're actually holding an event.
Absolutely.
And so lead digital. Now, Bill, this is a big passion area for you. And so you're going to be kind of our core content guy when it comes to the podcast, when it comes to the e-resource. This is kind of a passion area for you, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And it's just where the world is right now. It's where everyone's consuming their information, their content, all of it online now. And so to be able to effectively do that as a church is not just, like the cherry on top. It's like the core way that you're going to communicate with people. It is. Here's something that I say as it relates to lead digital. Friends, it's no longer 1989, okay? Your church cassette replication strategy, that's yesteryear. You know what I mean? It is a new day, and we're going to think through website, we're going to think through digital communication, we're going to think through digital marketing, we're going to think through even AI and how that can play a huge role to help you as a ministry leader. Okay, we're moving through the year, we're in April, then we're going to have a content focus about recruiting volunteers. Now you may be like, wait, Josh, how come you didn't have recruiting volunteers back in September? Well, guess what? You probably needed to already have all of your volunteers recruited for September of 2025. And whether you did a good job or a poor job makes no difference. We're starting in September with whoever you did get through your recruiting strategies, whether good or bad. We're going to do our best to retain them. Then we're going to focus on training them. Then we're going to focus on how to have good meetings with them. And then we're going to come around to be like, ooh, wow, let's shore up some of our strategies in the month of May before summer hits, when you're going to start needing to recruit back again for the fall. Bill, does this make sense? Oh, that makes a ton of sense. Yep. And I mean, we're doing this right now as a church, and we're at the tail end of a major recruiting push for our fall ministries. So to have that all set and thought through in May would be a dream.
Exactly. Because and we'll get to this during that particular month, but a little quick teaser here. Most people think that recruiting starts when you pick up the phone, and there's nothing further from the truth. Recruiting is a process that starts months in advance that culminates in a phone call that's 7 minutes long. Right?
Right.
If you're thinking, I got to start recruiting starts when I pick up the phone, you are your recruiting strategy could be far, far, far better. And we are going to train you about that. We're going to have an entire month about how to not drop the ball when it comes to recruiting. I'm very excited about that. Well, the next one, when the month of June hits, we're going to talk about some strategies, how you can lead up to your senior leaders. Now, watch this. Why are we putting lead up about like, how can you have influence and like traction with your boss? Why are we doing that in June? Well, probably because your boss is on vacation and you need to shore up some things prior to approaching them in subsequent months next year to figure out how to get more budget, how to get more people, how to get more stage time, how to get more promotion. All of these are things that you need to do and think through long before your boss and you are sitting in front of one another. Bill, what's your thoughts on this one, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And that's such an asset in ministry. I love that that this is an emphasis in your courses that you offer, because it's such a huge missing piece that you would never learn in seminary. Like not even a hint of talking about this when I went through Bible school, but it is like the ace in your pocket when you know how to do this well for ministry.
It is the ace in the pocket. That is just completely true, isn't it? Well, we're grateful for that. So we're doing that in the summer. You're going to be, okay, like, what do I want to say? Like when the crops have already been planted and you're waiting for them to grow, to harvest, you're in the summer and the farmer's like, well, what could I do? Well, it's time to start fixing some machinery before harvest gets here. And so we're going to learn how to lead up to our senior leaders. The next month, this is the month of July, we're going to do a deep dive into ministry conflict. Listen, if you don't have your hands around how to deal with conflict, you're going to be annihilated in a ministry setting. Bill, talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably do lead conflict for a whole year, honestly.
So.
And I think this one is probably the one that could fit probably any place in the year, but it fits nicely here because you never know when you're going to have conflict. You know, it's one of those things where it can crop up at any time, and if you're not prepared, you don't have a strategy around it, it's going to be more difficult than it needs to be.
Absolutely. Not to mention, you know, again, summer is this unique time where, yes, in some settings, you're busier than a one-legged man in a kicking contest, but in another setting, things do tend to slow down at some level church-wide in most ministries that I'm interacting with. Right. And then the month of August is really the pinnacle of it all. It's how to multiply yourself through volunteer leadership. I just did a church training it was yesterday actually, with a church just north of me. And this is the apex. If we talk about the cornerstone or the foundation is retaining volunteers, the capstone is really multiplying yourself through volunteers. And so, you know, this is going to be a fantastic content strategy. So, Bill, as you can see, we have 12 months in a year. We have tried our best to logically think through content buckets, and we're going to have a strategic focus on these. And so if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see this kind of serpentine path that's going to helpfully lead us through all of the things that you should be thinking about. We're going to cover all of those in a year, but we're going to do a super deep dive. We're going to do everything that we can, build as best as we can, and then we're going to move to another block in the ministry house that you're seeking to build, that you're seeking to have like a comfy couch in your ministry house. You're seeking to have structurally sound walls. You're seeking to have drywall that doesn't have cracks. You're seeking to have a healthy ceiling fan that isn't wobbling in a crazy way. You're seeking to have like lush carpet. These are all components of you building and a wonderful welcome mat, right? Leading out. So you're going to have all of these different strategies to build your very own ministry house. And so I'm pumped. I think this is going to be great. So again, this is a monthly content emphasis. Now, Bill, I want to speak briefly about this. I'm going to turn this over to you. Yes, we have the podcast. It's something that we do every single week, week in, week out. By the way, all of you wonderful people listening out there, please understand that the podcast is work. This doesn't happen on its own. I mean, we're creating content, we're thinking about strategies, we're putting together PowerPoints, we're trying to logically think about this, but we're taking it to the next level. Bill, talk to us.
Yeah, so I like to relate this actually to church because I think people understand it. It's kind of like your sermon, right? Like you take a sermon, you prepare for, whatever it takes each pastor to prepare for.
Yes.
You put all of your heart into it. The Holy Spirit's speaking to you. You're studying, you're reading commentaries, you're doing word studies. You put so much into that sermon. And for a lot of us, that sermon ends after 30 minutes on Sunday.
Yep.
And then if you're like any normal believer, you have so many inputs in your life that are happening. By Tuesday, you barely remember what the sermon is about, right?
Right.
And so you have to think about, how do you extend learning and discipleship from beyond just Sunday to the rest of the week? It's the same way with the podcast. You're going to get the podcast every Monday morning, but we wanted to create a way that you could engage beyond just hearing it once on Monday when you listen to it, or whenever you listen to it throughout the week. And so the podcast extras are really to extend the effectiveness of what you're learning in the podcast through the rest of the week. It'll be a tool. It might be some questions. It's going to be different probably each time, but they're going to be valuable downloads for you to grab and actually begin to implement what we're talking about on the podcast. So I'm super excited for this piece of it.
Yeah. And you are kind of the master at creating a helpful infographic. And so then post podcast, everybody out there is going to have access to a helpful infographic where it's like, oh yeah, that summarized everything that Josh and Bill talked about.
Right. Absolutely. You can stick it up on your wall in your office and it'll remind you of the key points of what we're talking about.
That's exactly right. In addition, Bill, when we were first coming up with this, I remember distinctly when you got excited and you said, somebody could have listened to this podcast and now this asset that we're creating, these podcast extras, could actually become a staff meeting. This infographic can be a staff, like this is content that we're providing you to help enrich all of those around you. So every week we're going to have podcast extras. In addition, the newsletter, it's going to have great bonuses, free downloads, the webinar. Now I'm excited about this too, because never before I've done great webinars, man. People have attended them. They've been blessed by them. I love doing webinars, but the interesting thing is we're not just going to do a monthly webinar. We're also going to have webinar guides. On the front end, you're going to be able to download before the webinar ever starts to prep your mind, answer a couple of questions. Here's a couple of things we're going to be doing today. So it's priming the pump. And then post-webinar, again, there's going to be a guide to help you make the most of it. I'm pumped about that. And you're creating those. Am I right, Bill?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It'll be, you're actually going to get, if you are part of the webinar, you're actually going to get a prep sheet, an engagement sheet, and you're going to get a reflection sheet. And those are going to really help you get the most out of these webinars. Okay.
So it's a before, it's a during, and then there's an after. Okay. So this is rich stuff. We've never done this before. This is absolutely brand new. Well, we're going to produce an e-resource. It's a monthly resource we're going to put out about the content focus. It is going to be free this month. It's going to be, or coming up in September, it's going to be how to utilize the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, how to do that, how to harness his wonderful strategy to retain volunteers. It's going to be a free ebook. Okay. Now watch this. The courses. Now each one of these topics is a full-throated course that has dozens of videos that are deep teachings, hundreds of downloads. And so again, we're going to have this really wonderful content push. Well, gang, we're helping you to map out your entire ministry year. That's the goal. We're looking for you to really dive deep with us. Listen, big quote here. Success in ministry is not what you do. Success in ministry is what happens if you never came back. And so if you latch onto these things and you really grasp them and you really build this ministry house of yours, it's going to stand even if you're no longer the head of the ship. Well, we're going to close it and land the plane with this. How can you benefit from this membership? Well, there are four different levels. Level 0, Bill, it's free. We've got a great newsletter that's packed with great resources. We have an e-resource that we're producing every single month, absolutely free. And you can listen to the podcast just like you're doing today. All of that stays standard. That's for any and everybody. Now, level 1 is $27.95 a month. Obviously, you get the newsletter, obviously you get the e-resource. Those are free things, but you also get the podcast plus these podcast extras, these downloadable digital resources that you can gain more and glean more from the podcast. Another thing, you're going to get instantaneous every single month, monthly webinar access for just $27.95 a month, plus the before, the during, and the after resources to really take a hold of that. Okay, level 2. You got level 0, you got level 1. Now level 2 is $47.95 a month. It's the newsletter, the e-resource, that's fine. Podcast extras, that's great. Monthly webinars, you're going to get entry to those. But listen to this, you get 250 daily videos delivered to you. Now stick with me. These videos are 1 to 1.5 minutes long, and they're videos, they're professionally produced, they're of me, and I'm giving you a really big push and a really big shove in the right direction. They are micro videos that really do encourage and bless you. In addition, at level 2, you get full access to every one of the courses, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of depth, really rich videos, and hundreds, if not 1,000 different downloads. This is a packed resource. And so this used to be what we would call the standard membership, right? You got access to the courses. Now, the quick thing, we have a brand new thing for that level 2 membership, and it is called Fast Tracks. Now, Bill, back in the day, you called it Sparks Notes. I called it, what did I call it?
Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes. Yeah. And so this is called a fast track. And so for the retain course, you might be like, wow, there's a lot of videos here. Okay, well, we've created a condensed fast track to where all of a sudden you can have condensed content. This is just bounce through this. Here's the things, the highlights that you could cherry pick. Also, it says, here's a couple items to print to make sense of it. And then finally, it gives you an idea of the watch time. And so to really do a fast track through the retain course, you could do that in under 48 minutes. That is a morning in the office, but it allows you to have a deep dive. So we're excited about the fast tracks, and that of course comes all with level 2. Here we are, level 3. We're going to close the plane, and it looks like this. For $125 a month, you get everything: newsletters, e-resource, podcast extras, the monthly webinars, plus the bonuses. You do get those 250 videos delivered. You have access to all 12 full-length courses, plus all the downloads, and you get one-on-one ministry coaching. Now, we have seven plus myself, so 8 coaches. Bill, you're a coach. I, Josh, am a coach, and we have individual people. Now, we only take, each one of our coaches are maxed out. We don't take any more than 12. I have 12 people that I take on in a year, no more. These people become my friends. They become kind of like my ministry confidants, or I become their confidant, quite honestly. And we're working through not only this great content, but we're dealing with whatever is really pressing in their life. And so this is what I call the kitchen sink. You get it all. And so I think that it's approachable financially. However, if you can't afford something like this, we do have some dynamic free resources for everybody. So at the end of the day, we have 4 levels: 0, 1, 2, and 3. We want to keep it as simple as we can, and it just keeps getting better. Well, again, success in ministry is not what you do. Success in ministry is what happens if you never came back, and we want to equip you in a year's worth of time with all of the big buckets to make sure that you are a well-rounded, okay, Bill, we're not just doing arms, am I right? We're not just doing shoulders. We're also making sure that we hit leg day as well. Am I right?
Don't skip leg day.
Don't skip leg day. Well, we want to keep this short for everybody, but we're very excited. We've been working on this since the first of the year, right? We've been working on this since December, if not even before, and kind of planning out this humongous, never done before launch for us. So we want you guys to be a part of it. It's not live yet. So when you listen to this podcast, if you go to the website, you will not see this available yet. It's going to be available September 1st. And we're super, super excited. So keep up the good work. Thank you, everybody, very much for being here with us today on this big launch day. My name is Josh Denhart. Bill Van Kirk is my sidekick, and we are grateful that you're here, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Lead Ministry Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit leadvolunteers.com for more episodes and resources. Thanks for listening.